Sarah Milanoi. I like to call myself a creative, first and foremost, a designer as well, and also an activist at some sort of level. So Sarah Milanoi, my background is in community development. That's where I started my work in terms of learning what's happening out there at the community and just getting to know how I can use my skill set to contribute to social change. I've always been very passionate about helping people and making a difference. I've always just liked to help and see people thriving and see the world be a better place. So for me, being able to study development at Daystar was the foundation for me, becoming a change maker. So I have worked in a lot of areas in terms of development. I've done a lot of work in NGO programs as well, and that's where I sort of started my journey. I've also done a lot of work in school programming, so mentoring kids in schools, and I was able to transfer those skills into my career. So outside of working in the development sector, I have also worked as a designer, which is basically problem solving, so coming up with solutions to different problems. I've done a lot of work in health, designing health interventions, designing hygiene and sanitation interventions as well. And my design work has been the foundation for me to get into films and film festivals. Yeah, and I know that is a very interesting shift, being able to navigate between the world of development versus the world of filmmaking. But my background in film has been interesting because my foundation in film started by putting together a film festival in Kenya, particularly on human rights, which is the first of its kind, basically. So the film festival is called Under Our Skin Kenya, International Film Festival on Human Rights and Culture. And the festival is 3 years old now in Kenya. We've had 3 editions and are currently planning our 4th edition. And the foundation of the film festival is basically human rights, or rather, I would like to say social impact and bringing change to the community and the society. So if I could summarize my experience, it's been navigating between the world of development and the world of film festivals and just bringing together that creative element together. I'm passionate about seeing people be their best. So for me, I like to see myself as a facilitator. So I'm just passionate about helping people become their best self, pretty much, whether it's capacity building, whether it's sharing information, or just creating an enabling environment for people to thrive, basically, especially young people. Under Our Skin is actually a sister festival that was born out of a larger festival based in South America, in Bolivia. So the Under Our Skin is just a direct translation of Bajo Nuestra Piel, which also means under our skin in Spanish. So we share the same name, we also share the same logo, so we're kind of sister festivals attached. And Under Our Skin was born as a vision out of this larger festival that was looking at a place to export the concept and the idea. And when we took up this idea as a Kenyan team, we were able to see the potential of the idea of a film festival in Kenya. Because as we know, 3 years ago, when we started the festival, there was no human rights film festival. And particularly any festival. And actually the festival started in 2020, so that was the time when COVID had hit. So we were at a point where Nairobi was in lockdown. There wasn't much to do. I think society was at a place where we didn't know what was going to happen. So it was a point of a standstill, if I could call it that. And it was at that point me and my team were able to just sit and reflect in terms of, okay, where are we as a country? What are the issues we're facing? why don't we put together a film festival that actually brings people together to talk about some of the issues we're facing? Because I like to say one of the things COVID did was it exposed the challenges and the gaps that we have as a country. So some of the social issues we face were amplified more, especially for communities in informal settlements. So that was the foundation. And our first edition was actually heavily centered around Mathare. So we focused a lot on looking at informal settlements and just seeing how do we really look at the issues that people are facing from these communities and just have open, raw, candid conversations about these issues and potential solutions, basically. And the model of Under Our Skin, what drives us is cross-community dialogues. That's one of our principles, that we want to bring people together from different contexts and different communities to the same table, to the same room, to just have very open conversations about the challenges we face without the feeling of being judged, actually. Yeah, so how our model works is we have this edition, one edition every year, every November. We have a 7-day festival where we curate a program across different thematic areas, different films, and just bring people from different areas to come and talk about these issues. We also we select international films, so our films are open to filmmakers from all across the world to submit their films, as long as their films speak to a social issue that's relevant to Kenya, to Africa, and the world at large. Another thing that's important for us is we don't just target people in Nairobi. Every year we must have a satellite edition where we ensure we reach to communities outside of Nairobi, because we believe it's important to reach out to people outside of Nairobi as well. We've had 3 satellite editions. We've been to Lamu, we've been to Kilifi, and recently Laikipia. And what we do in each of these informal settlements is we make sure that we tailor the festival experience to the needs of that context. So, for example, recently in Laikipia, we were able to partner with a local organization and be able to tailor the experience to female genital mutilation topics, also being able to provide SRHR, sexual reproductive health and rights, conversations and services as well. So for us, our model is we must partner basically with local grassroots organizations, because by the end of the day, they understand the context, they're able to navigate it, and we also believe there's power in collaborations, basically, because if we're to achieve our broader goal for social impact and cross-community dialogues, we can't achieve it ourselves. The power lies in collaborating and contextualizing the festival experiences to the people's needs. Currently, I'm working on a film project that's called The Forgotten Land. It's a story that looks at climate change from the lens of a community. So in this story, we're following a young boy and we're seeing the challenges that him and his family are navigating as they deal with the climate crisis. Yeah, for me, it has been an interesting journey, just being able to put the project together, navigating the elements of filmmaking. It's been interactive, it's been a lot of learning from the community as well, and it's also been challenging, I must say that. But I mean, it's a good challenge by the end of the day. It's a very relevant story from my perspective, because it allows us to look at a topic that is so important, climate change. I mean, it's something we're trying to understand, we're trying to grapple with, we're trying to navigate it as well. So for me, it just gives me the opportunity to see climate change from a human perspective and from the story, or rather from the eyes of the people, if I could say that. Yeah, and for me, I hope that it's going to be successful. And through this project, we're just going to be able to show it out to the world and just get to have really open conversations about what's really happening in terms of climate change, and also think progressively in terms of what do we need to do and how do we navigate the situation. For me, the fundamental of putting any project or any concept or any idea together starts with having a clear vision and a clear mission. So being able to define the objective, basically what's my motivation for either putting this festival together or pursuing this film project, for example. I always make sure that I'm able to answer the key questions of why am I doing this and why am I motivated, and just understanding the core problem that I'm trying to address or trying to solve. And if you're able to answer those key questions, then it kind of sets the foundation for you to be able to achieve the right outputs. So knowing what the mission is, knowing the right objective, and having a clear vision in terms of what I want to achieve helps. And in terms of navigating, because as you mentioned, there's the community element. So you know what I'm trying to achieve for the community versus what am I telling maybe the donors or some of the organizations I'm approaching. It's the same approach, being able to know who, in terms of are there organizations out there that share in the same vision as me and have the same objectives as me, and being able to communicate also clearly in terms of this is what I'm trying to do, this is what the output, this is what I will achieve, and this is why it's important for you to be part of this journey is very important. Yeah, and putting all that together. One of the key skills that I think has really helped me is knowing how to navigate proposal writing also, because that's how you're able to communicate to funders and donors out there. So being able to master that skill set has been very instrumental to help me navigate being able to move from an idea or a concept to actualizing a project. Yeah, and also just key management skills and having a good team. I cannot I cannot stress how much important it is to have a good team. And even as under our skin, we will not be where we were if I did not have a great team behind me. So it's not just me, there's a whole workforce behind me. Millennial on the Move is taking a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Millennial on the Move. There's been a lot of major highlights. For me, being able to successfully conduct the first edition of the festival in itself was a major highlight. First of all, because we were executing right at the heart of COVID. So right after we set the festival dates, we completed the festival, then 2 days after, complete lockdown. So for me, we got so lucky in the sense that I was like, wow, like this was our first edition. And we've just been so lucky to get this chance to be able to execute a festival. At the time, nothing was happening at the time of COVID, so there weren't so many events. So people were so excited to finally have something to attend. And for me, just to see people so excited to be out of their homes and be at a festival and just get to talk about films and social impact was such a major highlight. Another highlight for me has been the last edition last year. So last year was actually our third edition. And for me, just reflecting and thinking, wow, like 3 years later, we're here, still alive, still being successful, still being able to make social impact. Also the trip in Laikipia, the road trip, which was in partnership with Growing Dreams Initiative, for me was such a major highlight. Just being in a random village, was called Maramoja and Lekiji, and just being able to talk to young girls about their rights, and just inspiring them and being able to tell them that they can be successful, they can make it, was such a major highlight for me as well. Also, the project that I'm currently working on, Forgotten Land, so being able to experiment and navigating the landscape of film production also has been a highlight, in the sense that it has opened my eyes to see what it means to be a filmmaker. It has also helped me. I feel like now I understand better what filmmakers go through in terms of making a film, and it also has made me appreciate what filmmakers produce. So being able to see the hard work and the dedication and the passion that just goes behind a project. You know, it's not just a film, it's a story. There's a lot of challenges, definitely, for sure. One of the biggest challenges is being able to navigate financing, and especially in whether it's filmmaking or film production in itself, or putting together a festival. It's just been challenging getting to understand the landscape, getting to understand who funds what kind of organizations would prefer what kind of activities. Another thing is that there's very limited resources, especially in the arts sector or industry, if I could call it. So being able to navigate the harsh reality of that has been very challenging for me. Also just being able to show up every day, just knowing that, you know, I'm working towards this goal. I have a festival and a team to sort of like work together with, has not been easy. It's not every day you wake up with the same level of energy. There are days you just do not want to work. But I think just motivating myself has been very instrumental. You know, I usually say impact can be measured or non-quantifiable. But for us, in terms of what can be quantified, just having many people be able to show up and attend the festivals has been great. I'd say for every edition, we've had at least more than 2,000 physical attendees or people directly impacted by the festival. When we look at social media, that has been, of course, there's been greater reach through social media, just seeing people being able to interact with the content we share out there, getting to learn about the festival, the themes and the topics we talk about. But for me, the greatest impact has also been at the community level, just being able to see how people who attend the screenings and the dialogues are inspired by it. I usually like to refer to the first edition where we were screening in in Kilifi actually, where we had a community screening on gender-based violence, and we were engaging community health volunteers just to talk about gender-based violence issues, because there's a lot of gender-based violence issues in Kilifi. And just to see one participant walk to us after a film and tell us, oh, in this film, I saw a young girl who was sexually violated. This has been happening to my neighbor. I just don't know how to approach this problem. And he told us he was so inspired by what he saw in the film that it just gave him this new inspiration to want to be able to help the neighbor. So just asking, how can I navigate this problem? You know, now that I have seen how harmful GBV is, I want to do something about it. How do I go about it? So for me, you know, if you take that example and you replicate that at scale, being able to see people being inspired across different contexts, different communities, for me, and knowing that that impact will make a difference somewhere in someone's life, is the most inspiring thing, and sort of like keeps us going. Yeah, but if I could summarize impact, just being able to see thousands of people who we've engaged through film screenings and dialogues, being able to get inspired and go back to their communities and inspire other people, is the most impact I would say that I have seen. Film is very powerful because film interacts with all your senses. Film is able to get to the heart of the human. It kind of stirs our emotions, if I could say that. Film is also very powerful in humanizing the problems that we face. Through a film, you can show rather than tell. So it's such a powerful medium in engaging people to be able to think critically and experience a problem from a very emotional and human perspective. So because of how powerful it is as a medium, it's also very powerful in encouraging dialogues. So when people watch films, then they're able to openly have conversations about the issues they've seen, without feeling judged or having a certain bias. So it kind of creates the right environment for constructive dialogues. So that's why film. And who doesn't like to watch a good movie? So. For me, the major driver has been curiosity. I'm always a very curious person. I like to experiment and I like to learn new skills, and that has been the basic driver for me to learn new skills and move into new spaces that I may not have traditionally been an expert in. So having that foundation in development work, for example, sort of like set this foundation for me to want to learn more. And that's how I sort of like went to explore design thinking and moved into not just being a development expert and became a design researcher, and got to learn about the elements of what does it mean to incorporate design into research and putting that together and becoming a design expert. From there, when I discovered the film world and film festivals, so then I was very curious about it, so I took the challenge very positively. And for me, just the excitement of putting together a film festival was the main driver of just learning and navigating that space. And that's also what got me into experimenting also with exploring film production as well. For young people, what I would say is be yourself, be very curious, be open to learn new skills, whether it's getting online training, whether it's learning from a friend, whether it's learning from a mentor. If there's an area that you're interested in and you would like to navigate that space, you do not need to be an expert. You do not need to have like some basic training, for example. If you have, the better, that's an advantage. But if you don't, do not be afraid to start. Like for me, the principle is try. Try, and just start. You will sort of like learn the skill as you go. So for me, every single thing that I try or learn, I'm always I'm always trying to learn as I go, and I perfect the skills by practice, because you only learn by doing. There's no other way to learn, and you can do as many things as you want to do. You don't have to be tied into one industry or one area. You could always navigate as you see best and as you see fit for you. But the driver is curiosity, and keep learning and just try.